Hi, I'm Allison. I never expected to be a widow at 38, but life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. Marcus was my everything. Brilliant businessman, caring husband, and my best friend for 15 years. His sudden heart attack left me shattered, but I had no idea that the real betrayal was yet to come. Mrs. Reynolds, if you'll sign here. Mr. Hoffman, Marcus's attorney, slid the document across his desk. His expression remained neutral, but I caught the flicker of discomfort in his eyes. I don't understand, I said, scanning the papers. There must be some mistake. Reynolds Technologies was our life. Marcus built that company from nothing. Why would he leave it entirely to Victoria? Victoria, Marcus's younger sister, sat across from me, her face a perfect mask of sympathy that didn't reach her eyes. He always wanted the company to stay in the Reynolds bloodline, Allie. You know that. Don't call me Allie, I snapped. And that's ridiculous. I was his partner in everything. The will is quite clear, Mr. Hoffman interjected. Reynolds Technologies transfers to Victoria Reynolds Clark. Mrs. Reynolds receives the family home, financial assets totaling $1 million, and personal effects including artwork. 1 million? I nearly choked. The company is worth 50 times that. Victoria reached across and patted my hand. Marcus valued your contribution, Allison. That's why you're getting the house and his favorite painting. You know how much that Waldner original meant to him? The painting? That's supposed to make up for this? I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice. Robert, Victoria's husband, checked his watch. Allison, grief can make us say things we don't mean. The company needs leadership that understands the Reynolds vision. After signing the papers, what choice did I have? I returned home. Marcus's prized Waldner landscape mocking me from the living room wall. What was so special about you? I whispered to the painting. Allison, you in there? My friend Daniel's voice called from the front door. In here, I called back, not taking my eyes off the canvas. Daniel, my oldest friend and a corporate lawyer, entered and hugged me. I came as soon as I heard. This is insane. You know about the will? News travels fast. Victoria's already at the office making changes. He studied my face. That can't be legal. You two were married for 15 years. Apparently, it is. I turned back to the painting. All I got was the stupid painting he was so obsessed with. Daniel approached it, frowning. Marcus never struck me as an art lover. He wasn't. That's what makes no sense. He'd never let anyone touch it, not even to clean it. I ran my fingers along the ornate frame. Something's not right here, Daniel. As I tilted the frame, something shifted inside. A small click, then a piece of the frame popped loose. What the? Daniel stepped closer. I carefully removed the loose section, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside was a faded photograph and a small USB drive. Daniel peered over my shoulder. Who's that with Marcus? The photo showed Marcus shaking hands with a man I'd never seen before, standing in front of what looked like an early version of the Reynolds Technologies logo. On the back, written in Marcus's handwriting, James and me, the real start of RT. 50/50ths, always. I stared at the photo, my hands shaking. I think I just found out why Marcus was so protective of this painting. The name James Calloway meant nothing to me until I plugged in the USB drive. Tax documents, partnership agreements, emails, all pointing to the same stunning truth. Reynolds Technologies wasn't solely Marcus's company. James Calloway was an equal partner from day one, his involvement deliberately hidden when the company went public 5 years ago. This is unbelievable, Daniel muttered, scrolling through the documents. Marcus bought out James's share 7 years ago, but look at this. I leaned closer, reading the highlighted section. The buyout was conditional on a percentage of profits going to James's family trust, and if Marcus died, the agreement would be null and void unless properly disclosed in Marcus's will, Daniel finished. Which it obviously wasn't. Why would Marcus hide a founding partner? I asked. Daniel looked up grimly. Tax reasons. Or maybe Victoria knew and wanted the company all to herself. I needed answers. My first stop was Elena, Victoria's assistant, who had always been kind to me. Allison, this is unexpected, Elena said, glancing nervously at her office door. Victoria's in meetings all day. I'm not here to see Victoria. I need to talk to you. Elena hesitated, then nodded. 10 minutes. Coffee shop across the street. At the cafe, I slid the photo across the table. Do you know who this is? Elena's eyes widened. Where did you get this? You recognize him? James Calloway, she whispered. He used to come to the office years ago, before my time mostly, but I've seen old photos in the archive room. What happened to him? Elena glanced around before leaning in. Victoria despised him, said he was trying to take credit for Marcus's genius. When Marcus bought him out, Victoria made sure every trace of him was erased from company history. Did you ever meet him? Once, at a charity event last year. He tried to speak with Marcus, but Victoria intervened. It got heated. Do you know where I can find him now? Elena hesitated. I shouldn't be telling you this. Victoria would fire me. Elena, please. I think my husband was hiding something important. She sighed, writing an address on a napkin. He teaches engineering at State now. Allison, be careful. Victoria's been making strange moves since taking over. Firing employees, changing security protocols. Thanks, Elena. One more thing. Has Victoria ever mentioned a family trust in James's name? Elena's surprised expression told me everything. How did you know about that? Victoria's been trying to find ways to stop the automatic payments. I met with Professor James Calloway that afternoon. Older than in the photo, but with the same intelligent eyes, he seemed unsurprised by my visit. I wondered when you'd show up, he said, gesturing for me to sit in his cramped office. You knew Marcus died? Of course. I almost came to the funeral, but Victoria made it clear I wouldn't be welcome. He studied me carefully. You didn't know about me, did you? Not until yesterday. I found this. I handed him the photo. James smiled sadly. The beginning of everything. 2 engineers with a dream. Why weren't you acknowledged as a founder? Victoria, he said simply. When they wanted to take the company public, she convinced Marcus that having a solo founder would attract more investment. I agreed to a buyout with conditions. The family trust? He nodded. And reinstatement of my partnership if Marcus died without proper disclosure. Is that why you're here? Did Victoria cut you out too? She inherited everything. The company, the patents, all of it. I got the house, some money, and the painting this was hidden in. James leaned forward. The Waldner? You have it? Yes. Why? Because the painting wasn't just hiding our photo. The frame contains evidence of everything. The original partnership agreement, documentation of Victoria's illegal maneuvers, even recordings of her threatening me to stay quiet. I felt my pulse quicken. Marcus was protecting himself, and you. And now, potentially you. James reached for his phone. I've been waiting years for this. 1 week later, I walked into Reynolds Technologies for the first time since Marcus's funeral. With Daniel beside me and James waiting outside with his lawyer, I approached Victoria's new executive suite. Her assistant tried to stop me. Mrs. Reynolds, you don't have an appointment? I pushed past her, throwing open Victoria's door. She looked up from Marcus's desk with annoyance that quickly turned to surprise. Allison, what are you doing here? She stood. Robert was seated in a chair opposite her. We need to talk, I said calmly. I'm quite busy. Perhaps you could schedule something for next week. This won't wait. I placed the USB drive on the desk. I know about James Calloway. The color drained from Victoria's face. Robert stood quickly. I think you should leave. Sit down, Robert, I snapped. Unless you want to be charged as an accomplice. An accomplice? Victoria laughed nervously. To what crime exactly? Fraud, embezzlement, falsifying corporate records. Daniel stepped forward. We have everything, Victoria. The original partnership agreement, the real terms of the buyout, the recordings. Recordings? Victoria's voice faltered. The ones you made threatening James to stay quiet about his role as co-founder, I said. Marcus kept them all. In that painting you so generously let me have. Victoria's face hardened. You're bluffing. Those recordings were destroyed years ago. So you admit they existed? Daniel asked, pulling out his phone and pressing play. Victoria's voice filled the room. If you ever mention your role in founding this company again, I'll make sure you never work in this industry again. Marcus agrees with me. The Reynolds name is what matters, not some nobody who got lucky. Robert grabbed Victoria's arm. Don't say another word. Too late, I said. James is downstairs with his attorney. The SEC has already been notified. According to the buyout agreement, if Marcus died without properly acknowledging James's role, the partnership is automatically reinstated. That's absurd! Victoria slammed her hand on the desk. This company belongs to me now. The will can't override a legal business agreement, Daniel interjected, especially when fraud is involved. Victoria turned to me, her voice suddenly pleading. Allison, be reasonable. We're family. Marcus wanted me to have the company. Like you knew he wanted me to have just a painting while you got everything else? I stepped closer. You manipulated him his entire life. I was protecting our legacy. Victoria's composure cracked. You were just some girl he married. Reynolds' blood runs in my veins. And Reynolds' betrayal runs in your character, I countered. You're not getting away with this. What do you want? Robert asked. Money? A position in the company? I want justice, I said simply. For me, for James, and for Marcus. Victoria laughed bitterly. You really think anyone will believe this? The board trusts me. Let's test that theory. I nodded to Daniel, who opened the office door. James walked in, followed by 2 SEC investigators and Elena, carrying a stack of files. Elena? Victoria gasped. What are you doing? Providing evidence, Elena replied coolly. Financial records showing how you've been funneling company money into personal accounts. Emails where you discussed hiding James's involvement. Victoria lunged toward Elena, her face contorted with rage. You treacherous little... Robert grabbed her, but not before she shoved Elena hard against the doorframe. The SEC agents moved quickly, stepping between them. Victoria Reynolds Clark, one agent said firmly. I suggest you control yourself. You're already facing serious allegations. Assault won't help your case. Victoria turned to me, hatred burning in her eyes. You think you've won? This isn't over. I met her gaze steadily. Yes, Victoria. It is. 6 months later, I sat in the courtroom as Victoria and Robert were found guilty on multiple counts of fraud, falsification of records, and assault. Victoria glared at me from the defendant's table, her eyes defiant despite the orange jumpsuit. After court, James found me in the hallway. Feeling vindicated? Yes, but still angry Marcus never told me the truth. He was protecting you from Victoria, James said gently. In the boardroom of Callaway Reynolds Technologies, I took my seat next to James. As Marcus's widow and with James's blessing, I now held a significant position in the company. This company was founded on partnership, said Harriet Chen, the new chairperson. We're returning to those roots today. A week later, Elena told me Victoria wanted to see me in prison. Against my better judgment, I went. I was wrong, Victoria said across the visiting room table. I need to apologize. I laughed bitterly. 6 months in prison and now you're sorry? Marcus really did love you. He was planning to tell you everything. More lies, Victoria? We're done. Please, she called desperately as I stood to leave. I've lost everything. Can't we try to... To what? Reconcile? I turned back. You tried to steal my husband's legacy. You assaulted Elena. You lied to my face. There's no coming back from that. We're still family. No, Victoria. We never were in your eyes. You saw me as an outsider. Now you are the outsider. That evening, Daniel, James, and Elena gathered at my home. Daniel raised his glass. To justice served. And secrets revealed, I added, clinking my glass against his. Do you think Victoria will ever understand what she did wrong? Elena asked. I shook my head. Some people never accept responsibility. What happens now? James asked. With the company? With everything? I looked around at these people who had helped me find justice. My new partners, my real family. Now we build something better, I said firmly. Something honest. Something Marcus should have built from the beginning. Daniel smiled. And Victoria? Victoria can spend the next 5 to 7 years thinking about her choices. I took a sip of wine. Some betrayals can never be forgiven. Only survived. Have you ever discovered that someone close to you wasn't who they pretended to be? What would you have done in Allison's place?